it's Drea Jacquet. I'm back again this week, but this time I don't have anything to say about hair per se. I actually recently got a really cool opportunity to attend the SNL dress rehearsal, the one that was hosted on November 10th, 2018 by Liv Schreiber and musical guest Lil Wayne. I'm a pretty big SNL nerd, so this was a really exciting opportunity for me. I'm gonna go over what I did to get my tickets and what my experience was like watching the dress rehearsal. To begin, I'll start with the difference between the SNL live show and the SNL dress rehearsal. There's not really much of a difference. Well, the only difference is that one is filmed live and the other one isn't. But when you think about the amount of time and effort that has to go into an SNL show, basically, I see the dress rehearsal as the first of two shows rather than their practice show. To an extent, yes, you are their test audience. There are going to be sketches during the dress rehearsal that won't make the live show, but you still get the opportunity to see every single sketch that's going to be in the live showing later on that day and all of the musical performances. So SNL hosts a ticket lottery in August of every year. I've been emailing them every year for probably a couple of years, but this year I happened to get lucky. You can find the email address of where to email SNL during the August ticket lottery on the NBC website, and you can email them pretty much any time between August 1st and August 31st of that year. You can send only one email per person, and you have to be at least 16 to attend. And the biggest part of this, and I mean it's the absolute biggest part, follow the instructions for the ticket lottery verbatim. The reason I say that is because if it were my job to look through all of the lottery submissions that they probably get, I would use any little reason I could to eliminate people from that list. For example, people not following directions. And it responded to the prompt listed on their website that said, please tell us why you would like to become a part of our studio audience. If you're selected, you'll receive 2 tickets for a random show date and time. So my ticket submission was about 3 sentences, not too long, and read as follows. As a comedy nerd, Politico, and music junkie, I write to request tickets for the upcoming SNL season. The past couple of years have been interesting to say the least, and SNL provides me with a much-needed comic relief to the sad, yet mildly entertaining reality that has become Washington, D.C. I've been watching SNL since the age of 4, I'm 26 now, and would love to attend in person with my mother, the woman who introduced me to it all. And then I signed my name at the bottom. The subject line for my email says SNL ticket lottery submission - comic relief for a DC resident. When I sent in my email, I received an auto reply a couple minutes later and really didn't expect to hear back because in the past years I hadn't. I received an email on October 19th around 3:20 from ticketing reservations at NBCUni.com. And the email read, and I'll put a picture of it to the side, the biggest detail about the confirmation email that you'll receive from SNL is that you have to respond within 24 hours. So it's probably best to use an email address that you check often so that you can respond to them within that 24 hours. So after I responded confirming that I would be attending on the 10th, I got another confirmation of my confirmation back from SNL, and the rest was history. Unfortunately, you don't get to choose the date that you get tickets for, but it's SNL, so they have exciting actors, figures, music guests, and all of that all the time, so you can't really go wrong. Chances are you probably won't be disappointed no matter when you go. Jumping to this past weekend, I ended up taking the bus up to New York City, and on the day of the show, made sure that I knew exactly where the 30 Rock building was, where the entrance I needed to go in was, and then went to go grab some food with my boyfriend before the show started. I also wanted to be extremely careful of arriving before the no later than time listed on my ticket. For me, that was 6:45, but for other people that we met in line, that was 7 o'clock. When you arrive for the dress rehearsal, I think they start letting people in around 6:15. So when you get to the top of the stairs, this is when the line waiting begins. They check your ticket and your confirmation, look at a little list, give you a bracelet, which I still have one.
Okay.
You found them?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I want to watch it. I need sound. Yeah, okay. Oh shit! Yo, you've been waiting for this moment. Have you been training for this moment? Do you have guns? Are they all loaded? Why are we excited to see the KKK?
I got dynamite arrows.
Ooh! So Renee plays Red Dead Redemption, and we've been waiting for him to find the KKK so he can kill them in the game. You think they have guns? You think they packing? Get that Grand Wizard. Get that Grand Wizard. Get him in the White Hood. Knocking down white supremacy, one video game at a time. Back to business. So after you go through security and get your tickets and bracelet, you get to go into the Peacock Lounge. The Peacock Lounge is basically a seating area that has a bathroom and some cool lights. And you'll sit there for probably about 15 minutes, and then they'll start crowd herding into the studio. So what they do is they have a number or letter on the back of your ticket envelope, which is pretty important because that basically allocates where you get to go in the line when they start ushering people up to the studio. We had H printed on our envelope, and I don't know if it makes a huge difference. We got out of the Peacock Lounge around 7:20. You'll go around the cool circle-shaped lobby and wait right next to the elevator bay. That part was probably the longest wait that we experienced. It was probably about 30 to 40 minutes. And you spend the entire time in that line basically watching VIPs go up to the studio before you. We were finally ushered into the elevators with groups of about 5 to 8 people each. So once you get off of the elevator on what I'm going to guess is floor 8, not sure, this is when you have to turn your phone off. Once you get to that long hallway, there will guaranteed be staff up there screaming at you to turn your phone off if they see it in your hand. Mind you, they can also kick you out. You're there for free. There's some pretty cool pictures on both sides of the wall of former SNL moments and cast members and special guests and things like that. After that, you kind of just file in. There aren't really assigned seats unless you are a VIP or someone who sits on the floor. The way that the studio is structured, I made a little diagram of. Mind you, a significant portion of this was outside of my view. But I did take a look at some diagrams that I saw other people post on their website or something, and I kind of centered my replica around what I saw on those. I put a red star approximately where I was seated. So when you go into the studio, all of the seats are yellow, and I think they have maybe 5 or 4 rows. We were on the second row towards the middle right, which I thought was gonna be really great, but when you get into the studio, you realize they don't have a whole lot of space to work with. So here's my diagram of Studio 8H. I do wanna mind you, I don't work there. This was my first time visiting, and a significant portion of the setup was out of my view based on where I was seated. Take my diagram with a grain of salt, but this is the best representation that I could remember. So one of my biggest surprises was that the SNL band actually stays on the main stage the entire time. The stage in front of the band's stage is where they do the cold open, it's where they do Weekend Update, so that's kind of the main stage. To the left, you have the music guest stage. To the right, you have just some stage space, and you have 2 little chunks of floor audience. So because I was seated on the balcony, I couldn't really see how large the floor audience spaces were, but I will say there was a pretty sizable amount of space in between them, which is where a lot of the SNL crew members would push through like giant pieces of furniture or giant pieces of the set or the entire backdrop for a whole sketch. You'll see a billion different cameras, a billion different crew members, probably about 30 to 40 people all wearing black, setting up things, making sure everything is perfect. I was extremely impressed by how much work the crew puts into making sure that everything on that set is perfect. There's no such thing as a great seat for SNL, but there's also no such thing as a terrible seat for SNL. Because the studio space is so small, you can pretty much see and hear everything on the main center stage, but on the left and right, you may not have great visibility because if you're seated on the balcony, that set is gonna be right below you. But even though you might not be able to see everything, on my diagram, I show TVs pretty much in front of every couple of rows of seating. Another thing that would sometimes interfere with my visibility was the cast and crew. Even for sketches that were at the main stage in the very middle, close to where I was seated, if there was a camera guy right in front of me, I couldn't really see all of that. Just because it's a dress rehearsal doesn't mean the camera crew is not there. They'll be there filming, getting the shots that they need, repairing their cameras, repairing any parts of the set that need repairing. It's a pretty serious ordeal. After the SNL band warms the audience up with some jazzy songs, Michael Che will come out and warm up the audience with a couple of jokes. Then the show begins. The cast and crew comes out and quickly sets up and gets ready for the cold open. The order of events and sketches is pretty much identical to what it is live on air. Another cool thing that we saw was cast members coming out right after a sketch ended to grab the host or to grab cast members and rush them to the next sketch. There was also a significant number of pre-recorded sketches for SNL. For example, anytime they do a music video or something that looks like a commercial, those are pre-recorded. They played a pre-recorded sketch that was actually from the previous week of SNL, but other than that, there weren't any repeated sketches. There isn't a whole bunch of detail for me to provide about the dress rehearsal. We saw about 8 to 12 different sketches, and some of them did not make the live taping. Almost all of the pre-recorded sketches did make the live taping. Once the show ends, you're ushered out of the studio pretty quickly. Again, you still can't take pictures in there and have to wait until you get down the hall or into the elevator. And you're dropped off in the NBC gift shop. Overall, is this something I would do again? Absolutely yes. If you have the opportunity to do it, and if you are picked for the lottery, I vote find a way to get to New York and see that live show. Even if you're not a huge fan of the host or musical guest, it's still really exciting to be in Studio 8H and to see how it all goes down. Also, to throw out a disclaimer, I am just a regular person. I didn't do anything special to get my tickets except for follow the directions on the SNL website. I didn't have to pay for my SNL tickets. I didn't know anyone special. I didn't really have to wait in any standby lines or anything like that. I also didn't write anything spectacular or special in my lottery submission email. If seeing SNL live or at the dress rehearsal is something that you would like to do, go for it. Worst case scenario, you don't get tickets, and best case scenario, you do. I'd love to hear about experiences any of you have had in seeing SNL, and extra kudos to the SNL cast and crew who really work their asses off to make things happen there. And that's all I got for today. See you next time.